We're about to start a new year, and I hope you don't make the same mistake I did. For many years, I would spend New Year's Day researching new diets or workout plans, hoping to find something that would click to help me get fit and stay fit. I promised myself this time I would stick to it. But here's the surprising part. It wasn't until I stopped making resolutions to whip my body into shape that I was actually able to drop the 30 pounds and, more importantly, get consistent on lifestyle changes that actually made me feel good. In this video, I'm sharing how quitting resolutions was the turning point for me and how it can help you too. And just recently, I faced one of the hardest weeks of my year, a true test of how this approach still works. Spoiler alert, it does, and I can't wait to share with you how. January 1st of 2017 was kind of my rock bottom, and I was desperate for change. My dad had just passed away the day after Christmas, and Brady had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and we were dealing with that diagnosis, and I was unknowingly in the throes of perimenopause. I was overweight, exhausted, and really down on myself. I was desperate for things to change, and normally I would just go right into a New Year's resolution. But the truth is, those never really worked long term, and I knew I wanted lasting change. So that year I decided for a gentler approach. Instead of setting rigid goals that I had to white knuckle my way through, I focused on small improvements. Things that would help me feel healthier regardless of what the scale said. This time, instead of starting with diet or exercise, I started with sleep. I was so exhausted that any lifestyle change just seemed daunting. So I started little by little working on that nighttime routine that would get me a good night's sleep. After I was getting consistent good night's rest, I was working through my grief with a lot of self-care, walks outside, journaling, trying to take good care of myself. Only then did I move into exercise, and then little by little started working on what I ate. By the end of that year, I had dropped 30 pounds. But more importantly, I felt amazing, energized, confident, and truly healthy for the first time in years. If you're ready to make those healthy habits stick, grab my free habit guide in the caption below. And if you know you need a little extra accountability and help, book a free call with me and let's talk about how we can work together. Looking back, I see why New Year's resolutions failed me. They were rooted in that all or nothing mindset. I've heard too many clients proudly declare to me that they were an all or nothing person, and they thought that was a good thing. But all in is great, but who can really maintain that? It's that nothing part that gets us into trouble. I know New Year's Day me would commit to a program. I really needed this change. I'd do Weight Watchers or Whole30 or some workout program that I committed to doing every day. And it was great, maybe for a week or two, but then life starts to happen. Things start to get in your way. You feel a little less motivated, and you start missing a healthy meal or missing a workout and feeling like a failure. And that guilt would snowball until I just kind of quietly quit it. Resolutions don't account for real life. They're either too extreme, requiring you to completely overhaul your life, or they're too rigid, and it doesn't allow for flexibility in dealing with unexpected challenges that come your way. Raging hormones, a bad night's sleep, or just don't have the energy and motivation to go all in. This sets us up to fail. But thankfully, I found a better way. If you've had trouble in the past sticking to those New Year's resolutions, you're not alone. A 2019 study by Strava found that about 80% of individuals who set New Year's resolutions have abandoned them by the second week in January. And the second Friday in January is informally called National Quitters Day. I've seen it happen year after year. The gym is packed for the first 2 weeks of January, and then slowly people start to drop off. They either went too hard at the beginning and it was too hard to maintain, or they didn't find a way to enjoy the exercise to stick with it. And the grocery stores have those health foods front and center, advertising the fruits and vegetables, knowing people are going on these diets. But come February, all the Valentine's chocolates are front and center. It's hard to stick to New Year's resolutions. That's why you have to have a different approach. This all or nothing mindset that comes with New Year's resolutions has to change. And it all starts with asking yourself this one question. We're going to lean into flexibility and the fact that something always beats nothing. In that moment when you're debating with yourself, that inner dialogue, do I do the habit I've set out to do, or do I let my excuses win? That all or nothing. There's something in between. And the way you get to it is say, how can I? How can I still follow through in some way to make progress on that new healthy habit? How can I still do it even though I can't do it perfectly? How can I work through this? And I want you to get curious. When you ask your brain, how can I? It starts helping you problem solve. But when you do the typical beating ourselves up, which we're all guilty of, and you say, why can't I stick to this? Why can't I do this? That is just going to put you in victim mode, and it's going to be easier to quit. I want you to get curious instead of critical. How can I? And maybe how can I is just adding one extra vegetable to your plate instead of making that healthier dinner that you had planned. Or maybe it's going for a short walk instead of that gym workout. Or maybe it's going to bed 15 minutes earlier instead of the 30 minutes earlier or an hour earlier you had planned. How can I do something to keep making progress towards that health goal? When you figure out how to ask yourself that question, you're going to have the snowball effect of doing something every day instead of that hot or cold, all or nothing mindset. When I finally gave myself permission that I didn't have to make perfect choices and just was allowed to do something rather than nothing, I started easily making those lifestyle changes stick. This was all put to the test a few weeks before Christmas of this year. No way else to describe it. It was a horrible week. Probably the worst one we had of the whole year. We had just gotten back from a birthday trip to Memphis, Tennessee, and for a fun wedding, and we came back to a gas leak. The gas was turned off, so that meant no hot water, no cooking on the stove, and more importantly, no heat. And of course, this is the 1 week of December it was cold in Texas. So we're dealing with that. It took the plumbers 3 days to find the leaks, with several holes knocked in the sheetrock. And mind you, this is a couple weeks before Christmas. Luckily, they found the leak and patched it, and then we were able to get the painters in to start making repairs. When that Thursday of the week, my husband Brady was taking my car in to get a recall fixed on it, and on the way, a teenager ran a turn signal and hit my husband head on, shattered his wrist, totaled the car. Brady had to have surgery. It was horrible. It could have been much worse, and we were very thankful that it wasn't. But this week was just pretty much all the bad things could happen. I could have easily just gone to the drive-thru for every meal, could have easily blown off my workouts because the plumbers were here every day. But instead, I was going to do something rather than nothing. I needed to take good care of myself when all the craziness was going on. So I cooked soup in the microwave to have a healthy lunch, got up early and did my workouts earlier than usual so that I could be here when the plumbers got here. And I went to bed early to make up for that lost sleep. Because I made these choices and kept taking good care of myself earlier in the week, I was in a good spot to take care of Brady when he had his injury. I promise you, doing something every day is going to have a ripple effect in your life. You are worth the work to design a healthy lifestyle that you love. Here are a few tips to get started. First off, set realistic goals. Think small improvements, not giant overhauls. They're a whole lot easier to help create momentum. And number two, I would add in positive habits instead of trying to eliminate some negative ones. Like I did, it was much easier to work on getting better sleep by taking a warm bath or drinking chamomile tea, things that were pleasurable and felt good to add on, instead of the way I used to, where I was like, I'm cutting out this whole food group and trying to eliminate my Diet Coke. First off, start adding habits instead of trying to take away. Then break those goals into smaller pieces. What can you commit to every day for this month? If it still feels a little overwhelming, try breaking it down into a smaller piece. You're going for the long haul. So if this month goes a little slower, that's okay. You're still making progress. Instead of doing like a 75 hard program, I'd rather you do something easier. Maybe it's one walk a day, or Maybe it's at eating one vegetable at every meal, something so small that you can't talk yourself out of it. Remember, consistency beats intensity every single time. Quitting the resolution cycle doesn't mean you're giving up on your goals. By ditching the all or nothing mindset, you can make slow, steady progress to aging stronger and healthier. Stay tuned because in this next video, I'm going to share how to create simple routines that actually work in midlife. In case you need to hear this, you are worth the work to feel amazing this next year.